Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Friday, May 1st, and this is your update here at the Stay at Home Lounge. I have Mr. Merrill Snyder here over to my right, and I have Karen Snyder on camera. She's waving to you. So, as promised, I wanted to share with you some thoughts about opening Sandhill Cove up again. And what I will tell you is that opening Sandhill Cove up again also has required us to look further into President Trump's three phases approach to opening up America, and then also considering what Life Care Services has provided to us. So we're going to go over that in this segment, but I also wanted to just share with you a quick update from the Florida Department of Health. And so for Florida, there are 34,728 confirmed cases, with 197 of those being in Martin County, 3,000 of those in Palm Beach County, and then St. Lucie County has 250. And that is really important because as we look at the gating criteria, and we'll go over that further, but as we look at the gating criteria and opening up Sandhill Cove, we also must be paying attention to what's going on in the adjacent counties. As you may have seen earlier, I believe it was on Tuesday when Governor DeSantis talked about opening up Florida again, he referenced carving out Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach County. So he too is also looking at these counties that have these outside of the norm. So as we look at our gating criteria, it just cut out.
Go ahead.
Okay, so as we look at and consider opening up, we must be looking at the adjacent counties as well to see if there's anything out of the norm going on. So with that, I have shared with you previously President Trump's three-phase opening process for opening up America again. And I just wanted to remind you that as we refer to gating criteria, what does that mean? So in his opening up America again, and LCS has adopted that same principle, the gating criteria really looks at symptoms, cases, and hospitals. And I'm going to focus more on cases. So downward trajectory of documented cases within a 14-day period, and then a downward trajectory of positive tests as a percent of total tests within a 14-day period. So when we're looking at gating criteria, we're looking at data to determine whether or not it's safe to open. And so the gating criteria that we will be using is looking at 14 days worth of data to determine whether or not it is declining at a rate that we can then open up Sandhill Cove. So I just really want to make sure that you are clear on this, that we are just not willy-nilly just choosing when to open up or not to open up. We are using the gating criteria that has been set forth by our government, which has been adopted by our state and further enforced by Life Care Services, our owner. So what that means is, as you heard Governor DeSantis, there was going to be some openings on Monday, May 4th. And so as we did a deeper dive into that and looking at the gating criteria here locally for Sandhill Cove, and again, I will just remind you the downward trajectory of documented state cases within a 14-day period. We're also looking at the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. And LCS has added this criteria: we must maintain 0 resident and employee cases in all levels of campus. And then we need to also see a declining new and percent of positive cases in the county or adjacent counties for 7 days. So what that means for us right now is that nothing is going to change. We're going to continue on the same course as we are, because in both of those situations with that data, the data does not support us opening up Sandhill Cove at this time. So we will continue to stay on the course. And again, what we're looking for is a reduction to the documented state cases for a 14-day period, and then also the decline and percent of the new and positive cases. And so if you are computer savvy, you can certainly go on to the Florida's Department of Health website. You can just Google Florida Department of Health, and there's a bunch of statistics on there. And so this is what we're looking at. And what I will share with you is that they have a 14-day chart of cases confirmed in Florida. And for example, on the 29th, there were 5. The 28th, there were 1. The 27th, there were 2. And the 26th, there were 9. But when you look at the 14-day data, it's kind of all over the board. It's up and it's down, it's up and it's down. And what we need is we need to see a 14-day decline with that data. Furthermore, when we start looking at the percentage of positive labs, for instance, on April 29th, it was 10%. On April 28th, it was 9%, then 6%, then 12%, then 15%. So now that is down from 17%, but it's kind of all over the board. So we want to make sure, because of who we are as an organization and who we are as a community, we want to make sure that we are following this gating criteria and not jumping the gun, so to speak, and just exposing our residents and our employees. So we really need to stay on course. So let me boil this down for you once again. So we will stay on course as we have been, and we will watch this data as it is put out by the state and is prepared by the Florida Department of Health. We're looking for 2 things. We're looking for the decrease on the 14-day period, and then we're also looking at the positive cases, which is the 7-day period. So as long as those 2 items continue to decline, then we can further consider opening Sandhill Cove back up. So what that will look like in phase 1 for Sandhill Cove, these are just examples, and this is not all inclusive. In the event the gating criteria is met, we will, from a dining perspective, the dining rooms would still remain closed, but brown bag delivery could occur either through coming down and picking it up or delivering it to your home. Of course, those details will be worked out, but we would also need to control the number of people coming into any one area to less than 10. Housekeeping, we would continue modified housekeeping services such as cleaning of bathrooms, kitchens, and flat linen service. And then, this is just kind of an aside, but we would continue to encourage residents to leave or enter another room while housekeepers are cleaning. Waterfront Wellness, our fitness room, would open under phase 1 and be under staff supervision. So because our fitness room is nice and cozy, we would limit it to probably up to about 4 people. Again, just wanting to to honor the whole social distancing. Just because we're opening, it doesn't mean that we just throw all of our social distancing and our masks and all of that out the door. We would only be in phase one. So with the beauty salon, now interestingly enough, even with Governor DeSantis's direction, the beauty salons will not be opening up on Monday, May 4th. I know my hair's getting really, really long. Yeah, I'm getting some gray here too. Don't look too close. You'll find it. But interestingly enough, his update did not include opening up of the beauty salon. In our phase one, we would be able to open up the beauty salon if and only if Governor DeSantis, has opened up the beauty salon. We must always follow the most strict of guidelines. And then also with visitors, when we move into phase one, we would still be restricting visitors. As you may have heard with Governor DeSantis, the visitation policy for nursing homes and in assisted livings is still as it has been. In our phase one, we would stick to the no visitation policy. So this is a lot of information. It's going to be published in your weekly, so you'll have it in black and white so you can review it. Two things that I would like to close with and just remind you of. Number one, we are negative. We have no positive cases. That is attributed to your efforts as well as our employees' efforts. We must maintain this course until the gating criteria has been met. The gating criteria is the key to us in opening Sandhill Cove up again. So we're looking at that 14-day trend, and it must be declining in new cases, as well as the percentage of positive cases must be declining. So once those are met, then we would move into what we're calling phase one. And as I've said and shared with you, the dining, the housekeeping, the waterfront wellness, all of those are examples of that. And once we get into phase one, then I will give you phase two and what phase two would look like. And then of course, phase three, and then full recovery. So we're probably looking at, another 10 to 14 more days of just hunkering down and doing what we need to do. I will tell you, I get it. I understand that as Martin County, I believe the commissioners are meeting today. They may even be meeting right now, and they will most likely be opening up more businesses and so forth. That makes it very difficult for us when everyone around us is opening up. But I would just encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. And we'll get through this. Our goal is to keep you safe and whole, as well as keeping our employees safe and whole. So with that, I am going to close and pass this over to Merrill. But please read my newsletter, because it will give you greater insight. And it's something a little bit more tangible to kind of mull over as far as the gating criteria, and then what phase one would look like when we do actually open up. So again, thank you very much for your patience and your continued commitment as we move through and hopefully into phase one. Thank you.
Okay. I really am only going to be here to reinforce everything that Sean said, because I think it's been made abundantly clear now that while everybody else seems to want to open up so quickly, most of them are doing it without fulfilling the gating requirements. So all those guys are taking a risk, and we're not in a position to take a risk. And furthermore, it's no time to take a risk, because where we stand right now with no positive tests at all whatsoever is really important. It's all thanks to you all that we are there, every single one of you. That's why we're there. But keep that in mind. We have no positive tests. Almost nobody else on the planet can make that kind of a claim. Okay, so that's critical. And that's why we got to stick to our guns here. This is no time for us to take a risk. We're not in a position to do that because every one of us, the residents here, really all fall in that high-level category which nobody really wants to be in. We're all high risk here. So we can't afford to take a risk and gamble and say, forget the 14-day period. We're just going to do it anyway. No matter how many people are picketing out front or show up as they did the other day somewhere with guns and everything ready to go to war with Michigan, we can't do that. And we're not going to do that. So let's stick with our guns that we started out with. Not those guns. The habits that we formed over time. Okay? So let's really try to hang in there. I have as much sympathy as anybody. I'm living with the same four walls you guys are living with. So it's not easy, but it's paying off, because as long as we keep the positive trend of negative testing, we're way, way, way ahead of the game. So hang in there, and this is going to work out to our advantage. In the not too distant future, we're going to hit our 14 days, and we're going to have the opportunity of opening things up, as Sean referenced. Those were, again, only examples. There could be other things as well. So keep your nose to the grindstone as far as following the guidelines. It's working, okay? Soon we'll have some action here over in the famous Stay-at-Home Lounge. Right now, they're only marketing Maker's Mark prune juice. But eventually, they'll get back to bourbon, I hope. Okay, we'll see you again next Tuesday with another update. Thank you.